Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World Warships in our Saturday edition video. As today we're looking at the Supership or Tier 11 super cruiser, the Annapolis. We'll look at her upgrades, her modules, her consumables, and the commander, most importantly. But we're going to check out the armor here in a minute as well. But first off, we need to purchase the Annapolis. So I'm on the public test server. I don't own this ship on my main server account because I use this amount of credits. I can pick up a tier 10 ship, tier 9, tier 8. Maybe not fully equipped for that amount of credits, but it can take me a long way in grinding a lot of other ships in the game that I think is maybe more worth my time. So let's go ahead and pick it up, and we're not going to mess with the commander right now. I'm going to put Halsey on here in a moment, but first off, let's talk about her armor scheme. Or actually, need to back up. What type of ship are we talking about here? Is it a brawling cruiser, sniping cruiser, kiting cruiser, or this like mid-range cruiser? And honestly, Annapolis is this mid-range to close quarters cruiser when the situation calls for it. I'm not talking about close quarter situations where you're dealing with brawling cruisers that have torpedoes, and you're because they'll just trump you and dump all those torpedoes into your side. But when the situation allows for it and it's wise to do so, it's not going to get all these annoying commander recruited icons going in the background, most likely. I forget about that every time I do something like a video like this on the public test server. So anyhow, I'll just mute those parts out if I remember to. So with this ship, does really well at the mid-range, especially when you hang on to the islands. Like, you really treat your islands as very important, and retaining your ship's health pool and retaining her integrity. In the last half of the battle, she becomes super strong when there's less battleships that can slap you, all that type of thing. So looking at the armor, we have a 27mm bow and stern. The deck plating will go up in the midsection of the ship. It's just 30mm, and then the casemate armor also being 30mm. And it has a sizable superstructure, much larger than Des Moines' superstructure. The ship is longer than Des Moines, if my memory is correct. And then when we look down more here at the side, we have this armor belt of 170mm, and then it goes down into the torpedo protection plating, which is 30mm. So let's strip some of the armor away here and see what we're dealing with. So you can actually see the torpedo bulkhead citadel armor is 15mm. And then if we went past that, it's probably, maybe this is 102, which is kind of funny because it could be 127 on the side. I bet it's 127 on the side. Citadel actually looks kind of funky. So I feel like it's situated in such a way. Let me put this deck plate back on. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, yeah, there we go. That's a little more helpful. Yeah, so we see that. But it's almost like situated in such a way that, you know, this just kind of this 12, 13 kilometers away, you know, perfectly angled for, you know, any battleships or cruisers just to kind of have that little bit of a shell arc to smash through into your citadel. So your citadel, of course, is going to go from the length of your forward main battery turret to your rearmost battery turret. You have to keep in mind, so with this citadel being exposed like this, I mean, you saw the Yoshino citadels yesterday. I think he clipped us back in here. So this is a ship that you do have to be mindful of and how you position yourself. I see some players, they think they're in too hot of a situation, and then they decide, I must go full broadside to turn and get away. No, you just stay stern in, if that's the case where you're facing them, because you will get slapped really quickly with this large citadel when you show broadside. So you do not want to do that in Annapolis. You want to be angled. You want to utilize that 30mm and 170mm armor as much as you can. So just don't get feeling all aggressive when you're playing this ship. So we'll go ahead and go on to the next thing. And because I just picked up the ship, I don't have any upgrades, combat signals, anything like that mounted. So first off, I'm going to do what I normally do, and that is switch out several of these things to like that. That's like my normal consumable setup. So let's talk about the main battery. The 203 millimeter guns, reload time right now 5.5 seconds, 180 degree turn time of 20 seconds, maximum HE shell damage 2,800, 5,000 AP shell damage. Main battery reload time when you utilize the burst fire is 40 seconds, and then interval between shots 1 second, number of bursts in a series 3. So this is what I was talking about. You only want to utilize the burst fire when you're going in, like let's say behind an island, like I did with the Conde the other day, because you know, if I were to take 5.5 and multiply it by whatever to basically reach 40 seconds, you can see that I can get 3 salvos off in 15, or right now it'd be what, 16 point, or maybe it's 7, I don't know, maybe it's like 17 seconds. I can get 3 salvos off. So that means I would get like 6, 7 salvos off in total for what the main battery reload time is, just to have that instant outpouring, outburst of DPM. So you want to really utilize that when you're going behind an island. Maybe you're about to go dark and you want to try to set a target on fire one last time before you go down, or whatever that may look like. So you just have to know when it's best to utilize this. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit more. The hull, right now we have 56,000 hit points, and we'll talk about the A and secondary here shortly too. You can see that our main battery firing range is actually a little bit more than what we have in Des Moines. Des Moines is 15.8. Here we have 16.2. Of course, if we want to build in the range and make it exceed the range, we can. But for now, we have it set up as the 16.2. And our propulsion is 33 knots. But if we take the serial mic flag, that's going to put us almost at 35 knots, being 34.7 knots. So let's talk about how I would build this ship. I would build the ship first off, investing in her main armaments modification 1, because that's really how Annapolis shines, just like the Des Moines. You want to keep that main battery going, so reducing our risk of main battery becoming incapacitated by negative 20%. We improve the main battery survivability plus 50%, and our main battery repair time, if a main battery gun does go down, is negative 20%. So I want to mount that first. I don't really care for any of these others. If you're trying to go for an AA build, Annapolis, yeah, then auxiliary armaments modification might make sense if you're going to like div up with a CV or something like that. But all in all, the main armaments modification 1 is how you want to go. For the third slot, if you don't have coal, then I recommend taking the engine room protection. 250,000 credits just reduces the risk of your engine and your steering gears becoming incapacitated, and improves the repair time. Other than that, I would recommend picking up the surveillance radar modification. So we're going to go into the armory. Sometimes the public test server that trying to get into the armory is a little finicky. This time it actually seems to work quite well. And if you have access to this coupon, always try to pick up these special upgrades with the coupon, because instead of 17,000 coal, it's 12,750 coal, and it works out much greater, and it saves you coal in the long term. Of course, this is also being reflected on the public test server. So the public test server, if you're wondering, it's not this place you can just come and play whenever you want, any ship you want. It's just when they have their rounds of testing for a couple of days, and right now they're having some testing as I record and upload this video. So we're gonna put on the surveillance radar modification 1. So actually, before I do that, our action time right now of our surveillance radar is 40 seconds, okay? So what the surveillance radar does is it extends it by plus 20%. So we go from 40 seconds to 48 seconds. So really building into the radar there and making it last very long. Next up, what I recommend is going for the aiming systems modification 1, mainly for the maximum main battery shell dispersion. So this is going to reduce your maximum horizontal dispersion and your maximum vertical dispersion. So it's basically, it's tightening everything up by, let's say 10, 20, 30 meters, bringing things in. And so you're getting tighter shell groupings. So for me, this is what I would prefer first and foremost. You also have the main battery modification 2 to help your main battery traverse speed, but when I played this ship, it's not bothered me. I mean, it's 20 seconds, which is good, could be worse. But 20 seconds is not bad as long as you're being mindful of turning your turrets in advance, if you're turning directions of your ship, kiting, whatever that may look like. For the fourth slot, what I'd recommend going for is the propulsion modification 1. time taken to reach full engine power when accelerating is negative 50%. And that's really great, especially when you're at range and you're trying to duck some shots from some battleships or maybe some cruisers. And for me, even utilizing this on Des Moines, it's just been fantastic because you're just avoiding salvos as a whole, rather than taking something like damage control system modification 2, where you're just reducing the damage that you know you're going to take, like from a fire or a flood. But propulsion modification gives you the ability to just completely juke the salvo. Steering gears can help you wiggle, trying to find maybe that hole in dispersion. But in my experience, the propulsion has been great because I run also legendary mod on the Des Moines, and I'm never going to go back. Next up is I'm going to recommend that you take concealment systems. So right now we're 13.6 stock. So we want to be able to bring down our concealment, which you see is going to bring us down to 12.2 kilometer. And also reduces the squadron detectability range of us. So you can see that's by air, 8.6. And dispersion of shells fired by enemies attacking your ship, plus 5%. So enemies have a slightly worse dispersion when they fire at your ship with the concealment system modification. It's only plus 5%. It's not huge, but it helps, right? And then for the 6th slot, what I'd recommend is going for the main battery modification 3. Your main battery reload time is going to be reduced by negative 12%, and your main battery traverse speed is going to increase by 13%. So as I talked right now, our reload time is 5.5 seconds. So if I were to mount this, you're going to see it drop to 4.8 seconds. So just from this skill alone, we get underneath that 5-second window. But our main battery traverse speed is now 23 seconds instead of that 20 seconds, but we will revisit that. You also have the gunfire control system, which extends your main battery firing range by plus 16%. Again, I don't see a need to try to play range with Annapolis because kind of like the Des Moines, when you're playing at range, it's great, of course, but when you really get to increase your DPM, because with Annapolis, she feels very similar to Des Moines with me to an extent. With that radar, with your hydroacoustic search, you want to get around those key objective areas like caps. You want to work alongside the islands, get yourself in position, moving in on the enemy team. Of course, taking your time the first half of the battle, but then you can be a little more aggressive in the last half of the battle as more enemy ships are off the board. So really, the main battery modification 3 is what I think is best. So some other people I know who ran gunfire control system mod 2 for a while, and then they decided to try main battery 3 out, and they're like, whoa, why didn't I do this sooner? So I speak from experience and just from what I hear from others. If you're going for this AA build, Annapolis, if you're divvying up with a CV, then the auxiliary armament modification 2 might make sense if you're wanting to really go after enemy carriers. And I'll do a build because I'm the public test server. I can demount and remount different things. I can show you the overall DPM damage that you can cause with your A defense. Right now, our A defense rating is just 96. Just 96. It's really good. So we can definitely max this out for sure. So I'll talk a little bit about that shortly. In terms of the armament, here's the burst fire alternative fire mode. The number one thing you have to be mindful of is when you press, so I have it tied to my F key, when this is default, when you utilize the burst fire, so you press F, you burst fire, you got to remember to press F again and switch it back to singular fire. I've done this multiple times where I haven't, and then I don't want to have a 40-second reload time, but I end up shooting myself in the foot, and I end up having this 40-second reload time, or I guess now it's 35.2 seconds because of our main battery modification 3 upgrade. So another reason to take the main battery modification 3. And then I really want it, but I'm like, dang, I just messed it up. And you can even see the interval between individual shots is no longer 1 second, it's 0.88 seconds. So kind of fun. Improved penetration angles with the armor piercing makes you very powerful, especially dealing with cruisers at close range. You get your depth charge airstrike, so the maximum bomb damage is 4,900, and I wasn't sure if that was actually the same as Des Moines, so I'm a little curious here. Okay, it is the same as Des Moines. I was not sure, but it is the same. So there you go. It's 8 kilometers. Is the range the same? Yeah, range is the same, 30 seconds. Okay, so they just slapped it on from Des Moines to Annapolis. Okay, good to know. Your consumables is you have the damage control party, action time of 5 seconds, reload time of 60 seconds. Your repair party, right now we have HP per second to 80, but if we melt the India Delta combat signal, it jumps us up to 336. So you want to be running India Delta combat signal, ideally on any ship that has a repair party that you're utilizing, because it really helps a lot. Action time 28 seconds, reload time 80 seconds, number of consumables 3. Surveillance radar, detection of ships 10 kilometers, action time 48 seconds since we built into it. Otherwise it'd be 40 seconds. Reload time 120 seconds, number of consumables 3. And then for the last option here, you have the option between defensive AA fire and hydroacoustic search. So right now, I'm going to recommend hydroacoustic search to run that unless you're doing the AA build. But with hydroacoustic search, detection of torpedoes 3.5, detection of ships 5 kilometers, similar to Des Moines in that regard. Action time 100 seconds, reload time 120 seconds. And again, I'll come back and talk more about the AA build once we go through with the commander. In terms of combat signals, that would stop popping up, that would be nice. I'd probably run something like this. I mean, if you're not seeing CVs, you can drop that. Our fire chance, I meant to talk about that, it's 14%. So, if we were feeling a little cheeky, we can increase that up to 16% with those two. So this might be another type of setup that I run. If I don't want Sierra Mike, if I don't want that speed, and I want that additional action time with my hydroacoustic search, so now it's up to 110. Yeah, action time. 110 seconds, where before it was 100 seconds. And then you can see by taking this, we're reducing the preparation time and reload time of ship consumables. So 114 seconds on hydro versus the 120. So sometimes I want to have my radar back up even sooner. So I tend to always run this on my Des Moines Annapolis. Not really concerned about flooding, because ideally you want to avoid floods, but on battleships for sure, I want to be able to take that. So let's go ahead and talk about the commander. So first off, we need to dismiss this dude. And then we need to put Halsey, which is currently on Massa. And we'll go ahead and redistribute skills. I do want to remind myself, yeah. So that build you're seeing is the build I run as more of a team build with consumables and such. So hopefully we remember what exactly that is. So I can talk about that build. I'm going to talk about the build I'm running now on my Des Moines, what I'm running with Halsey, and I think would work really well here on Annapolis. I actually would have gotten benefit if I would have taken it in the video I showcased as well, running that build. So for a 10-point build commander, it doesn't really take too long for your shells to reload right now. So probably what we're going to do is we're going to tackle that turret traverse time of that 23 seconds. And with Halsey, if you're able to run him, he's very helpful because it's an enhanced skill versus the plus 15%, we get plus 20%. That brings us back actually beneath 20 seconds to 19.2 seconds. So I quite like that. We're going to run it. After this, because of people often liking doing cross-map shots, from Shikushima, Yamato, 24, 26 kilometers away. And also when you're dealing with destroyers, or they're trying to flash you with the priority target and shoot you really close. Priority target, I think, is really well on Des Moines, because if you get caught out broadside and there's a ship that's there to punish you for that, it helps give you that greater situational awareness, especially if you overextend. If you start getting 3, 4, 5 ships targeting you, that means you need to go dark, or you need to marry that island for dear life. So priority target for me has just been immensely helpful with Des Moines. And then when I was talking about that priority target flashing, is if you see, let's say, 1, no one targeting you, 1, no one targeting you, and you know there's a destroyer around, that means he's probably just dumped torpedoes on you. So that's another value of having the priority targets. So that's a 3-point build, and then I'd recommend picking up Adrenaline Rush. This would be a 6-point build here with Halsey. As you lose health for each 1% of HP lost, your main battery reload time is reduced, your airstrike armament reload time is reduced, your secondary battery reload time is reduced, and your continuous AA damage is improved by plus 0.2%. Granted, you're probably likely to use some AA, get knocked out if you lose a lot of health, especially if there's a lot of HE spammers like Thunder. I'm looking at you in the game, wrecking your AA on your ship. But this also helps you get that reload time down even more. So if we're running 4.8 seconds as we lose health, we can get down 4.6, 4.5, maybe even 4.4. So you're just becoming that more deadly with the adrenaline rush. After this, I'm going to recommend that you take the Concealment Systems or just Concealment Expert. This gets you down from the 12.2 to the 11, and then by air, 8.6 to 7.8. This is just really intrinsically valuable. You have 10 kilometer radar, but this is the greatest we're going to be able to get our concealment unless we activate the double strike talent, which reduces our detectability range by another negative 10%. So then we would be sitting at 9.9, but not a lot of people are just activating this talent all the time with Halsey. But having it at 11, having your air by 7.8 might mean that you're able to get in that position without that pesky Nakimov detecting you as you set up your position. So this is what I recommend for a 10-point build. And then for a 13-point build, what I recommend picking up next would be the Superintendent. So this gives you that additional hydroacoustic search, the additional radar, and the additional repair party. Because sometimes you're going to be pulling dreadnoughts with your Annapolis, and it's very satisfying to have that, but more or less satisfying to have that additional hydroacoustic search, additional radar. If you're trying to find that submarine or find that destroyer, it comes in real handy. So this is with a 13-point build commander. Then probably, I'm working towards the build I am currently running on Halsey with my Des Moines, and I would do the same with the Annapolis. And then with the 17-point build, I'd actually go ahead and I'd pick up the top grade gunner. Now from this point, when I recommend these skills, it can be whatever order you would prefer, but I'm going to kind of explain my decisions here. So top grade gunner has the permanent effect of your secondary battery reload time, which I haven't talked a lot about yet. Drops it by negative 10%. So right now it'd be 4 seconds, but then we mount this skill, it drops it down to 3.6, and you can actually see kind of a decent secondary range, 7.7. Not bad, but it's nothing to brag about. But then it can be activated. It increases your main battery reload time while an enemy ship is within your ship's standard detectability range. Changes to ship detectability caused by firing main guns, fires on board, and other combat events are not taken into account. Main battery reload time, negative 8%. And this builds into not the 6 slot, right? Being able to run main battery modification 3, being able to take adrenaline rush. But when you get yourself in those situations where you, like with my Des Moines, I'm mirroring the island, I'm sitting near the key objective areas. If that's arms race, I'm going to be in the key area when it appears, or try to be at least. If it's on domination mode, I'm going to be sitting near a cap where my radar is giving full coverage over the cap. So that means there's going to be a destroyer, enemy destroyer in that cap. There can be an enemy cruiser that's within my 11 kilometer standard detectability range, activating this. And then standard battles, particularly if you just find yourself on a flank or a good island position, you're likely to get a good benefits out of the top grade gunner. So then our reload time goes from 4.8 seconds, and I'm going to pull up my fancy calculator here. Yeah, it's going to shave 0.384 seconds off. So 4.8 minus 0.384. I think I said that right. So now you're down to 4.4 second reload time. So having 4.4 second reload time with these 12 203 millimeter guns is just nasty, just really nasty, and it's really satisfying. Even with like Des Moines just having, although you only have 9 guns, it's still really satisfying because they're Des Moines guns, right? These guns are pretty legendary in World of Warships. So that's what I would recommend doing with a 17-point build. So then that means we have 4 skill points left undistributed. So this is what I have, I'm toying with right now. I'm testing it out so far, but I like what I see. So our survivability is 56,000. So if I take survivability expert, HP for each ship tier increase is plus 450. So I actually wonder how they calculate this for a super ship. So let's try this out. So if I mount this, it's 4,950. So 450 times 10. Okay, that's 4,500 plus 56,000. So this is a funny thing. So Wargaming says these are not tier 11 ships. If this was a tier 11 ship, the additional, well, if they just gave it like tier 10, whatever, it'd be 4,500. But they give an additional 450 because it's a super ship, aka it's a tier 11 ship. I mean, come on, Wargaming. But if we took survivability expert on Annapolis, we get additional 450 more hit points than, for example, Des Moines. So then now our health pool is over 60,950. So that's actually quite nice in my opinion. And as I've been running this skill, I have realized, oh, I'm actually getting benefit out of this, where I'm 3,000, 4,000, 2,000 health left, and otherwise I would have been dead. But if you're just getting clapped in one salvo's shots, then survivability expert is probably not for you. But it's something I've been trying out, and I'm actually quite enjoying it on cruisers, and normally I wouldn't take it. Then with my last point, I'd recommend taking the gun feeder. This is enhanced rather than being, I guess, negative 50%, it's negative 60%. So when we swap between AP and HE, which you're doing all the time with Des Moines, with Annapolis, excuse me, these ships are just so similar to me. You can see it's 1.9 seconds. So you might have a cruiser pulls out in front of you broadside, and you want to switch from your HE to your AP, get some citadels. There's a destroyer pops up, and you want to switch from your AP to your HE because you want to wreck his some of the stuff on his ship. So that is why the gun feeder skill is really helpful in having that on Des Moines. So this would be the 21 point build. Oh, sorry, Annapolis. This would be the same build I have on Des Moines. This would be the 21 point build I would recommend on Annapolis. Now, if you aren't crazy about top grade gunner, how else would I recommend going about it? If you're not crazy about the top grade gunner, probably what I would do, you could go for this type of build. So you could, this basically is improving, actually let's just master that. So when we pop up the artillery, we just increased our maximum damage by our AP guns plus 250. So now they do 5,250 rather than just 5,000. I ran this before, where I'd take this, and then you could pick up survivability expert if you still want to have that larger hit point pool as an example. So this could be one build that you do. Another build option that I could recommend going for would be, get the things going on here. Yeah, I think this was actually the build this was the build I was running in yesterday's video. So I wanted to increase the duration of my radar primarily. So that was why you were seeing 52.8 seconds with running that. So I wanted to additional action time for my surveillance, but of course also it helps with the hydroacoustic search plus 10%. So now we've gone from, what is that, 110 seconds with our hydro to 121 seconds. So I was getting some little buffs there, and then I wanted to increase my AA. So this is gonna mean we're gonna transition into AA now. So let me do that again, because I want to show you how the AA changes. So what this skill does is we have airstrike, armament, reload time, but your priority sector reinforcement plus 25%. Here you see it's plus 50%. Your number of shell explosions and AA salvos +1. So now we've gone to 75%, and then damage by shell explosions is 1,820. Well, that's what it was before. Excuse me. We've gone from 10 shell explosions in a salvo to 11. So then greater chances of causing damage to planes. So this is what I was running before, and then I transitioned into more that the other build, which is basically this build. This build's what I run now. And then let's talk about the AA build, and we're going to wrap this video up because we're hitting 30 minutes now. So if I want to go for an AA build on Des Moines, yeah, this is what I would do. So let me master this. Alright, so now we're going to watch AA defense. So we've increased our priority sector reinforcement, of course, and now we have 11 shell explosions in running the focus fire training. And then this also increases our anti-submarine warfare, but we're taking this primarily for the AA. So we jumped up to 653, and we jumped up to 2,184. So kind of changed there, and then we go from a 96 AA defense rating to a 99 AA defense rating. So that is pretty excellent. You also saw improved ship characteristics when her AA guns are active. Ship consumable preparation and reload time, -20%. So when your AA guns are active and they're shooting, then that means your repair party, your hydro, your radar, or AA defense is going to come off cooldown that much quicker. So that's the AA build with the commander. Let's go back over here. So first off, we're going to drop that. We're going to pick up our November Echo Set 7 plus at 5% AA damage, then shell explosions plus 5%. So now you see 653, 685, 2,184 to 2,293. And now we have an AA rating of 100, but we're not done yet, as Billy May here might say. And then we're going to switch out our hydroacoustic search with our defensive AA. So when this is activated, our continuous AA damage jumps up plus 50%. So what, like 342 is going to be added onto the continuous AA damage, and shell explosions plus 300%. Yeah, 300% on top of that number is pretty powerful, if I might say. And when I do that, I run that in the I key slot. And then we're not done yet. We're going to take the auxiliary armaments modification too. Now keep in mind, we've already hit 100 rating, but we can make it better. Now we're 788 by continuous damage, and damage by shell explosions has gone up to 2,637. And then we build into the RAA mouse survivability. I'm just trying to show you a pure AA build here on Annapolis. And then in the third slot, we're going to switch to the AA guns modification. Our priority sector preparation time, -20%. So it just keeps coming, right? So does it show me now what my priority sector reinforcement time is? Action time, 10 seconds. Preparation time, 8 seconds. So that's good. That's very good. And I don't think there are any other skills that is going to buff our AA further. I'm just checking. Oh, sorry. Billy Mays sitting over my ear right now. Then if you want the pure AA build, you could pick up the defensive AA fire modification 1. Consumable action time plus 20%. Consumable cooldown time, -10%. So then your AA defense fire consumable is going to come back online that much quicker. So we'll go ahead and mount it and replace. And so now we have 48 seconds out of our defensive AA fire consumable, and our reload time is 68.4 seconds. So I didn't really show you what that looked like before, so we're just going to demount real quick. 40 seconds and 67 or 76 seconds, excuse me. So this is the pure AA build here. And now that we have these numbers changed, now let's look at defensive AA fire. So 788. So you're almost 400, beneath 400 additional because of the plus 50% of your continuous AA damage. And then damage by shell explosions, that's plus 300%. Yeah, that's high. You are moving up in the world, my friend. So really deadly. So this is what I would recommend if you were wanting to do the AA build, Annapolis. This is what you want to go for. So we literally changed 4 of our upgrade slots. And I would only recommend doing this if you're divvying up with a tier 10 CV or clanmate, a friend, or super CV. That's the only time I'd recommend running this build, because then if the CV doesn't come after you, or you're not positioned well and not able to block the CV, then you're not really going to get a full money's worth out of this. But maybe I can get a game with one of my clan friends where we can just drop in and see what this type of AA build will do here in Annapolis. So, but we're 36 minutes hitting already, so I need to wrap this video up. So if you liked this video today, please give it a thumbs up. If you did not, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you subscribe, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you're running on your Annapolis, as I'd be curious to hear this in the comments below. So until next time, take care.